Hello, everyone. This is Russel Arnold speaking to you from Sydney. We've just finished the Sri Lanka versus Australia game. It was the battle for the second place in Pool A. Sri Lanka finishing second best, but they can be proud of themselves. They put up a brave fight and the game lived up to the hype. Coming into the game, a dry pitch was on offer, something different to what we've seen in the last couple of games here in Sydney. Sri Lanka opted for the spinners. Injury is also forcing a few changes. Herat injured, stitches come out from his finger tomorrow, and he'll need a little bit more time for that spinning finger to heal. Sachitra Senanayaka made the team. Dimut Karunaratne's injury meant that Upul Taranga made the team. And looking at the conditions, Sri Lanka opted to play Sikuge Prasanna instead of Suranga Lakmal. Lost the toss to Angelo Matthews, and the atmosphere was brilliant. Sri Lankan fans turning out in their numbers, and they outnumbered the Australian fans. I must tell you, it was a beautiful day here in Sydney. Conditions awesome, and the crowd made it an excellent event. And it was now left to the players to make this game live up to the hype. Crucial toss to lose, and Australia lost David Warner early. I was very impressed with Sri Lanka's plans early. Lasith Malinga, outstanding bowling his slower balls and deceived David Warner. Finch was stumped, though he was dropped early at second slip by Maila Jayawardene. You cannot say it was dropped. He did really well to get to it, but the ball before Angelo Matthews moved second slip out. Finch was removed by Prasanna not too long after, and I thought Sri Lanka were going to make inroads. Then came a very good partnership between Smith and Clark. It was important that Sri Lanka dislodged them because that would have given them an opportunity to get into Australia's middle order and put pressure on Shane Watson, who was making a comeback once again. Not to be, because Smith and Clark, they are very good players of spin. Use their feet well, absorb the pressure early, and the going was slow. They put on 134 before Angelo Matthews brought Malinga back into the attack. I thought it was late because we've watched matches throughout this tournament, and if you let the batsman get going and leave it late, you are going to pay the price. But the moment he was brought in, picked up the wicket, Smith was dismissed in the very next over. Brilliant catch by Pereira, but that got Australia to 177 by the 32nd over. Even if Australia took their time and crawled their way, they would have had a good score to bowl at. That's what that partnership had done. We saw a blinder from Glenn Maxwell, who played some unorthodox shots, 102 of 53 balls, which took the game away from the Sri Lankans. Even Shane Watson chipped in, but was overshadowed by Maxwell. Malinga outstanding, 2 for 59. Senanayaka opened the bowling, but to me, he's far too slow through the air and there is not much of an impact. He's got to pick up wickets. If not, no point walking away with figures of 9 overs, none for 59. Sikuge Prasanna bowled extremely well. First 7 overs went for 27, but the last 3 overs, one in the batting power play and a couple in the death, spoiled his figures. 1 for 77 it was, and as we have seen in the past, if you do not pick up early wickets, it hurts come the end. Over 200 runs were scored in the last 17 overs by Australia. It was going to be a tough chase for the Sri Lankans. Tirimana was dismissed early. He got a snorter from Mitchell Johnson, and for a moment it looked like it might be a short evening. Come the 6th over, Dilshan took 24 off of Mitchell Johnson. Oh, it was a classic over. Boundaries all around, down the ground, square of the wicket, and then through the covers. And what impressed me most in that over was when it started, Mitchell Johnson had plenty to say, and as the over went on, even his run-up shortened, his follow-through shortened. Dilshan looked like he was huffing and puffing. Sangakkara took a little bit of time to find his fluency, but went on to score another magnificent 100. I thought a tiring Sangakkara and Dilshan lost their wickets. Jayawardene couldn't get going, but Chandimal, he gave Sri Lanka some hope. Got to 52 in quick time and kept Sri Lanka within striking distance along with Angelo Matthews. Angelo Matthews struggled with a hamstring injury, it looked like, but later I felt it turned out to be a cramp. So there's no issues with Matthews, but Chandimal looks like he has done a hamstring and would need probably 10 days to recover. I'm still waiting for confirmation, but that's my feeling. Chandimal played fearlessly, played some brilliant shots and scored his 50. of 22 balls. Now, Glenn Maxwell, who was the shining light in the Australian innings, got his 50 of 26 balls. And if Chandimal continued at this rate, he would have bettered Glenn Maxwell's effort. And that's what Sri Lanka needed to get across the line. The moment he was dismissed, Matthews followed, and the Sri Lankan innings went nowhere from there. But 312 in the end, every reason to be proud of the heart and fight that Sri Lanka showed in this game. Australia qualify with this win. Sri Lanka need to win against Scotland to make sure of their place in the quarterfinals to be played in Sydney. Yes, they can still qualify if other results go their way, but if Bangladesh can cause an upset, then that Scotland, the win against Scotland will be very crucial. Now, a lot of injuries for Sri Lanka to deal with, and they'll be playing the next game in Hobart, where the pitch is good and you can chase down big scores. Sri Lanka's bowling attack, other than for Lasith Malinga, doesn't look like it'll pick up wickets. Hence, they're going to have to bat really well because anyone can score runs. I was down in Hobart yesterday, saw the island play Zimbabwe, and everyone seemed to be knocking it around. We're seeing that happen time and time again. So the Sri Lankan batting will have to show up if that pitch turns out to be good. But we had a fantastic game, I would say, with Sri Lanka's limited options in their bowling. They bowled well. They bowled within themselves. Fielding was much, much better. It's just that to pick up these wickets, what can Sri Lanka do? Obviously, they'll have to keep attacking a lot more by keeping fielders in catching positions and probably relying on their plans a little bit more. Once the batsman shows intent, once the batsman attacks you, I think they're reacting a little too quickly and changing their lines and lengths. Going forward, a lot more discipline, more energy required, and try and pick up half chances. I still think they have a very good chance. Batting is clicking. Now, Chandimal not being able to come back into the lineup might be a big blow, but the confidence is high. Sri Lanka will back themselves to score lots of runs, but you can't go on hoping that you can chase down 300 all the time. Maybe played an extra spinner today because of the conditions, but they'll have to go back and play another seamer. Senanayaka is not the answer for me, so I'm hoping Herath will be fit and the Sri Lankan team will look a lot better. But sitting back, hoping to choke the opposition, certainly not going to work. The game lived up to its hype, and though Sri Lanka lost, we walk away as happy Sri Lankan fans. Looking forward to Hobart on Wednesday and for Sri Lanka to seal their place in the quarterfinals. This is Russel Arnold from Sydney for thepapare.com.